My name is Drew Common, and as you can tell from my intro, I chose to play the piano for senior project. That was a few measures from Beethoven's Für Elise that you guys just heard. The reason I chose to play the piano for senior project is because I've always been fascinated with music, and I've always wanted to pick up an instrument, just never had the time to do so. But senior project provided me with a great opportunity to learn the piano. We also happened to have a keyboard at the house, so it all worked out. I was lucky enough to have a really great mentor. Her name was Ms. Kathy Morris. She's a part of the Columbus Music Teachers Association, and she has many years' experience as a pianist at her church and as a teacher. How it would work is I would meet each Monday at 7 o'clock with two other Columbus High School students. We would get on Zoom and we'd perform for each other, and Ms. Morris would critique us, point out things we needed to work on, and then lay out some criteria that we needed to work on that week to progress our skills. So for my contract requirements, I sort of broke it down into 3 phases: my beginner, intermediate, and advanced phases. And to highlight some of the skills and requirements I targeted during the beginner phase, I had my basic hand positions, my scales, learning my quarter, half, and full notes, being able to connect these smoothly and for extended measures and kind of work these into actual pieces. And then I began studying for my music theory test, which I'll get into later. So now I'm going to show you a picture of the workbook I went through during this beginner phase with my mentor that I used to practice pieces to target these skills. And next I would like to play a piece out of this book that kind of shows mastery of these skills targeted during this phase. So moving on into the intermediate skills and requirements, we're kind of past that stage of playing those kids' songs like the Ants Go Marching. We now have an increased range of notes that we play during one piece, and we're switching hand positions. So say I started in a C position, my right thumb on C, my right pinky only going to the G. I would have to switch to say an F position, so my right thumb's now on F, and my right pinky can stretch all the way to a high C. So now we have a lot more notes during one piece. And we also have crossing over and under. We had to learn 3-note chords in our left hand that we incorporated into some songs. And actually one of the toughest parts of my senior project was learning differing rhythms between both hands at the same time. So say in my left hand I was playing quarter notes, and in my right hand I was playing eighth notes. For me it was very difficult to train my mind to being able to play a rhythm in my left hand that was different from a rhythm in my right hand. And then we also had to practice committing some songs to memory so I'd be able to perform them without having the actual sheet music in front of me. And of course we had to continue studying for our music theory test. So now I'm going to show you a quick picture of the workbook that I considered being my intermediate level workbook that I worked through. And next I would like to play a piece out of this workbook that I considered proving mastery of these skills and requirements. So before we get into the advanced skills and requirements, I wanted to talk about the music theory test. It was one of the larger components of my contract, and what you see here is the curriculum, sort of an overview of what had to be known for the test. My mentor and I studied together on some of our Zoom meetings, and I took a couple practice tests with her before the real thing. So one evening, I believe in November, I went over to a church to take the actual test, and now I'll show you my results from the test. I got 100. It was a super easy test, and overall it was an easy requirement to complete for my contract. So finally we have our advanced skills and requirements, and what this entailed was incorporating the foot pedal. And honestly, the foot pedal is one of my favorite things to master because the foot pedal allows you to draw some character and some liveliness in some pieces. We also had crossing hand over hand. We had a new quarter and half note. We also had a strong focus on adding character to our pieces, and what I mean by this is when you're learning the piece, not just kind of going through the motions, learning note for note, really focusing on what the composer was trying to make the audience feel with this piece and trying to highlight those points when you play it. We also had to learn a classical piece that our mentor assigned us, and so Miss Kathy Morse assigned me Fire Dance, and I actually mastered this and performed it in my Zoom recital, which I'll be talking about and showing a clip of in just a minute. So now I'd like to show you the workbook I consider to be the advanced level workbook. And if you noticed, all these workbooks are made by the same woman, and I really enjoyed the workbooks. I feel like they did a really good job of making learning the piano simple, fun, and easy, and just made me want to continue to progress and get better. So now I'd like to play a piece out of this workbook that I consider proving mastery of these skills and requirements. So my final contract requirement was a Zoom recital. So along with Deborah and Apoorva, I performed 4 total pieces. I performed 2, we would rotate to the next person, and then when it came back to me, I played another 2 pieces. The audience was about 20 members, 25 members made up of family and friends. And for my final piece, I did perform Fire Dance, so that completed the requirement of my Zoom recital and mastery of my classical piece. So now I'm going to show you a clip of part of my performance of Fire Dance from the Zoom recital. The Zoom recital was technically my last requirement, but I did finish that at the end of February, so I wanted to challenge myself to kind of learn a longer piece, a particularly well-known piece. And so I was on YouTube and I found a tutorial for how to play Let It Go from the movie Frozen. Yes, I know that's really cheesy, make fun of me all you want, but I thought it'd be really cool to listen or to learn. So I practiced for well over a month. It's taken me a while to master it, and I don't have time to perform the whole thing, but I kind of want to perform a modified version to close out my video as kind of my final piece that I've learned. So that concludes my senior project. I really enjoy learning to play the piano, and I will definitely continue to progress in the future.